Hello everyone! Today I'm going to tell you about the origin and development of the company HoYoverse. This story began in Shanghai with three ambitious students named Cai Haoyu, Liu Wei, and Luo Yuhao. In 2011, the idea of creating mobile games seemed rather laughable because smartphones were just gaining popularity and it wasn't clear that one could make a lot of money from them. Because of this, it was difficult to find investors, especially for students who didn't have much successful project experience at the time. Even before founding the company, the team created a game called Fly Me to the Moon. At the time of its release, the game cost just $3. It is now available for free, but it only works on older versions of iOS. The game was released on September 28, 2011. To establish the studio, the students received a subsidy of 100,000 yuan from the Shanghai Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Center. At that time, this was approximately $16,000. They also had the opportunity to use office space for free for half a year. The developers were completely unknown back then, but after the release of Fly Me to the Moon, the company gained its first recognition among Chinese game developers. The main character of this game was Kiana Kaslana, whom we have met in subsequent games by HoYoverse. The goal of each level was to reach the moon and, if possible, collect 3 stars. Moons are present in many HoYoverse games and usually symbolize something important and significant. Surprisingly, this seemingly simple game even had its own lore. In 2012, the company MiHoYo was officially founded, which later became known as HoYoverse. Inspired by other Asian projects such as Mobile Suit Gundam, Dragon Collection, and Fate Extra, MiHoYo decided to also create games based on the gacha system. Such games were already making huge money for developers at the time. The first game with a gacha system was Zombiegal Kawaii. This game already resembled the well-known Genshin and Honkai. In China, the game was released on December 13, 2012 and worldwide on June 20, 2013. In the community, this game is referred to as the first Honkai. In the game, players controlled cute characters battling equally cute zombies. Zombiegal Kawaii introduced familiar mechanics such as character and artifact leveling and different types of weapons. The familiar gacha system was not present, but players could spend money on weapons or a beautiful outfit for Kiana Kaslana, the main character. There wasn't a story in the game, and the description of Zombiegal Kawaii states that it's just a game where pretty girls fight zombie girls. On June 26, 2014, MiHoYo released a game titled Houkai Gakuen 2. The game already featured a banner system that was divided into event and standard banners. The main protagonist of the game was also Kiana Kaslana. Iconic characters such as Raiden Mei, Bronyazechik, and Himeko, who would later be introduced in other MiHoYo games, also made their appearance. The gameplay remained similar to its predecessor, focusing on slaying zombies, but Houkai Gakuen 2 introduced a storyline. The game's events take place in a high school when a virus begins to turn people into zombies. The main character's classmates turn into zombies, prompting her to arm herself in a bid to survive and escape the infected school. Each level constitutes a separate mission where the protagonist battles waves of zombies, explores the environment, and finds items that help her progress. As the story unfolds, she learns more about the virus and its origin. The virus was created in a laboratory as an experiment gone awry and spreads through zombie bites. The protagonist attempts to discover who is behind this and how to stop the virus. There are other characters in the game with whom the player can interact, and they, like Kiana, are also trying to survive. Some help by providing information or resources. A key aspect of the game is survival. The player must enhance the protagonist's weapons and equipment to tackle more challenging enemies and advance further in the game. Players need to choose and upgrade their weapons via a gacha system and strategically use abilities to survive. The game culminates in a confrontation with the virus's source and the person responsible for its spread. The final outcome depends on the player's actions. If the protagonist wins the final battle, the virus spread is stopped. If she loses, she continues in an endless struggle against zombies. MiHoYo earned their first millions from this game. Despite its rather mediocre gameplay, the game attracted players with incredibly beautiful anime cutscenes, rivaling the best Japanese anime studios even today. At the time, players were surprised to find such high-quality animations in a typical mobile gacha game. The development of Honkai Impact 3 began shortly after the success of Houkai Gakuen 2. MiHoYo wanted to create a game that would feature a deeper storyline, high-quality graphics, and advanced action gameplay. The game was also built around the Honkai virus, which poses a threat to humanity. One of the key features of Honkai was its graphics. They were on a level comparable to console projects, and players were amazed that mobile game graphics could be so high quality. Unlike the previous game, Honkai Impact 3 consists of dynamic battles in which the player controls a team of 3 characters. Each of these characters had their own unique abilities and combat styles. The attack combinations and dodge timing systems added depth and dynamism to the battles. Besides graphics and gameplay, MiHoYo placed a strong emphasis on the game's storyline, which evolved with updates. The plot touches on themes of friendship, sacrifice, apocalypse, and the fight against cosmic forces of evil. It focuses on elite warriors who protect the world from the Honkai virus. The beta version of Honkai Impact 3 was released in 2016 and immediately drew attention with its engaging gameplay and visual effects. After its release in China, the game quickly gained popularity among mobile gamers. In Japan, Honkai Impact 3 was downloaded 1 million times just 11 days after its release. By March 28, 2018, the game had been downloaded a total of 35 million times worldwide. Just a few years after its development, MiHoYo achieved a net profit of 440 million yuan in the first half of 2017, which was approximately $3,200,000. Honkai Impact 3 became one of the most successful mobile games in the world. The game achieved such success due to its quality content and frequent updates with various events. Honkai was also released on personal computers, allowing players to enjoy enhanced graphics and optimization. Globally, the game received a huge fanbase thanks to its lore, detailed characters, and storylines. Like in Houkai Gakuen 2, Honkai featured animated cutscenes and their quality improved. There was also a mini anime series and several volumes of manga featuring game characters. MiHoYo began selling merchandise and monetizing music from the game. Everything was great in Honkai except for the amount of space the game took on the device, but this problem also existed in MiHoYo's subsequent games. MiHoYo expanded the game's universe with each update, adding new characters and story episodes. On February 29, 2024, a major update called Honkai Impact 3 Part 2 was released. This update began the second major story arc, introduced new characters, and featured a redesigned interface and updated game engine. It was Honkai Impact 3 that brought MiHoYo to the international gaming market and made the company popular among gacha game enthusiasts outside of Asia. After the successful release of Honkai Impact 3, the company MiHoYo decided to develop a new project that would surpass their previous games in both scale and audience. Their goal was to create an open world with dynamic gameplay, deep lore, and appealing animation. The development of Genshin Impact began in January 2017 and was initially codenamed Honkai Impact 4. After one of the developers played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild by Nintendo, the team was inspired to create their own world. Other sources of ideas included random events from Grand Theft Auto, the strategy game Divinity Original Sin, and other games. At the initial stage, the company had 150 people, but due to the challenges of creating an open world, the team grew to 300 by mid-2019. The development budget started at $25 million, but soon exceeded $100 million, which was fully recouped 2 weeks after the game's release. A significant portion of the game's budget was spent on creating the music. The first closed beta testing took place in June 2019, focusing on core gameplay mechanics and the Mondstadt region. The second beta testing occurred in March with the demonstration of the Liu region, and the third in July. The game was released on September 28, 2020 for PlayStation 4, PC, Android, and iOS platforms. Before its release, the number of pre-registrations exceeded 10 million, more than half of which were outside China. According to some reports, this game became the largest international release among all Chinese video games in history. Genshin Impact received generally positive reviews from critics. However, some warned players that such a high-quality and well-thought-out game could lead players to gambling and addiction to the gacha system. In the year of its release, the game won the Game of the Year award in the App Store and Google Play. The following year, the game was recognized as the best mobile game at the Game Awards. Within a week, the mobile versions of the game generated about $60 million in revenue. In less than 2 weeks, the game earned over $100 million and broke even. In the first month, the mobile version alone brought its developers $245 million, and in 2 months, $393 million, becoming the second most profitable mobile game in the United States during that period. In the US, the game's release was the largest among role-playing games on mobile platforms in history. By the end of March 2021, revenue from Genshin exceeded $1 billion. It ranks as the third largest revenue from a mobile game during that time, following Honor of Kings and PUBG, making it one of the most profitable mobile games of all time and the fastest to achieve such success on Google Play and the App Store. Thus, after the release of Genshin Impact, MiHoYo became known worldwide, attracting a massive number of people who previously didn't even know what gacha games were. While Genshin Impact was gaining popularity worldwide, a new project, Tears of Themis, emerged in its shadow. The game was released on July 9th, 2021 and combines elements of detective work, adventure, and romantic interactions, all with a gacha system. In addition to investigations and interrogations, players will need to unlock cards, create powerful decks, and win debates. The mechanics remain similar to other games, meaning acquiring characters, weapons, upgrading artifacts, and abilities. The question arises, why is this game not as popular as others? The reason is that HoYoverse decided to experiment and made a game aimed at a female audience. While Genshin Impact attracts both genders with its diverse characters, most characters in Honkai Impact 3 are female and heavily sexualized. In Tears of Themis, there are mainly charismatic muscular men, which didn't lead to as much success. The game's plot unfolds in the futuristic city of neon lights, Stellis, in 2030. Civilization is once again struck by a virus, but this time it doesn't turn people into zombies. It disrupts their psyche, causing sudden violence. However, there have been few cases of infection and they don't follow any pattern. A team of specialists takes on the investigation to find clues and identify the culprits. You will play as a young woman who joins the bureau, which investigates crimes and provides legal services. You will conduct interviews, search for traces, gather evidence, and participate in debates. Besides helping random people, the main character will explore her feelings and resolve romantic issues. Instead of combat battles, the game features debates where characters challenge you by arguing causes and effects, practicing rhetoric, and engaging in disputes. You and your opponent will take turns making moves, trying to deplete each other's health by undermining arguments. You deal damage using special cards ranked by rarity. Although the game became popular among players from China and Japan, it didn't achieve global popularity as evidenced by its annual revenue of $16 million. In the same year, on June 1st, the HoYoLab app was launched, consolidating all the fandoms of MiHoYo games. People use it to share guides, discuss news, and socialize. In February of the following year, MiHoYo introduced the HoYoverse brand concept, which aims to unify all the company's projects under a single brand. The game Honkai Star Rail began development in 2019. From the start of development, it was planned that the game would be supported for at least 6 years after its release. The development team consists of about 500 people, most of whom are fans of science fiction and turn-based role-playing games. The sci-fi theme was chosen due to its popularity among the younger generation, as indicated by surveys conducted by MiHoYo. This is the company's first project to implement a turn-based battle mechanic. According to one of MiHoYo's surveys, many players showed interest in this battle mechanic. The developers drew inspiration for the project from the game Persona 5. In the previous game, Honkai Impact 3, events took place on Earth, but other planets were mentioned, so the development team decided to expand the universe by creating a setting where characters travel on a space train to different planets. Creating each of the game planets took about a year and went through several stages. First, the concept and theme of the planet were determined, then unique characters and setting details were developed, followed by the writing of the storyline. The producer of the game aimed for Honkai Star Rail to reach the level of immersion found in well-known films and anime, so that players would feel engaged in the world and experience an interactive anime series. Honkai Star Rail was announced on the official YouTube channel on October 7th, 2021. The first beta test was conducted on October 27th and the second took place on May 25th, 2022. The third beta test was held on February 10th, 2023, and on the same day it was revealed via the App Store page that the official release of the game was scheduled for April 26th. Already on April 23rd that year, the game became available for pre-download and topped the free charts on the App Store in more than 113 countries and regions. 3 days later, the game was released for Windows, iOS, and Android. According to experts, the global revenue of the game on all platforms could have exceeded 100 million yuan on the first day. 10 days after its release, the mobile version generated over $100 million, with 44% coming from China, 22% from Japan, and 12% from the USA. In the same year, Honkai Star Rail won the award for Best Mobile Game of 2023 at the Game Awards, becoming another successful project for HoYoverse. The game's Endless Zone Zero was announced in May 2022. Subsequently, several stages of beta testing were conducted and the game was released on July 4th, 2024. Zenless Zone Zero is an RPG with action elements, where the player controls a character who helps others explore hostile alternative dimensions. As the game progresses, the main character recruits new members to his team to fight enemies. This shows how HoYoverse, after 8 years, returns to the gameplay concept from Honkai Impact 3. Instead of an open world or a turn-based system, a hack-and-slash game is presented in an engaging setting. The events take place in a post-apocalyptic futuristic city. According to Eurogamer, the combat system and exploration of the game world are captivating and the setting is unique and highly immersive. Some critics note that despite the improved combat system and a more player-friendly approach to gacha mechanics, the game lacks an element that would maintain players' interest over a long period. They also mention that the storyline in Zenless Zone Zero is less engaging than in other HoYoverse games, and although the combat system is impressive, it may seem too simple. Critics also say that world exploration is quite limited, and the character design at launch is dull, which could negatively impact players' willingness to spend money on new characters. For now, Zenless Zone Zero looks like a promising project. This game didn't create the hype like Genshin Impact, nor did it bring novelty like Honkai Star Rail. There are no exact revenue figures for this game yet, but I would assume it is no less than Tears of Themis and not more than Honkai Star Rail at its launch. We'll see what happens with it in a year. Moreover, this year there have been rumors about a new game from HoYoverse. This game will resemble The Sims in its mechanics, but will mainly focus on Animal Crossing. In general, HoYoverse is creating a new niche for gamers of its games. Well, that's the end of my story. Thanks for watching. Write in the comments what you think about HoYoverse. Subscribe to my channel. It gives me more motivation to make videos more often and make them more interesting. See you soon.